special meeting of the DRB because it's a Sunshine Mile District project, which means we are joined by two members of the neighborhood. Nancy Defoe will be joining as a voting member, and the other individual's name is Marie, and I don't know if I see her on this call unless that's the 520 number listed. Is that, what's the phone number there?
471-0036.
Right.
That's actually my mom, Cindy Gebra-Merriam. So
okay, great.
Not what you're looking for.
Okay. Well, we might be joined in a moment by a woman named Marie. I don't have her last name. Maria might. And if so, she's a member
Jonkers.
of the...
Yes, she
Yonkers.
just called
Okay.
me. Can you hear me? This is
Yes,
Nancy DeFeo from Sam Hughes, and I'm standing in for one of our members, but Marie just called me. She is having trouble signing on. I think she's trying to do it through her phone, and so she's continuing. She's going to update me. But I'm going to shut my my microphone down so I can talk to her. Okay, I'm going to mute.
Okay, so we do have quorum, Mr. Chair. I'll pass it over to you. And I'll share my screen with the agenda.
Okay, great. That would be perfect. And we will call the meeting to order at 7:34. And the first order is, or the first item on our agenda is a roll call. Could you provide a roll call, please, of the staff?
Absolutely. Paige Anthony. Not here yet. Rosemary Bright.
She's not gonna make it.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Susanna Dickinson.
Present.
Thank you, Susanna. Carol Clement.
She's not gonna make it.
Maria with the intel. Mr. Kepler.
He's gonna make it.
He's gonna make it. Great. Michelle.
Present.
Here. Thank you. Mr. Stevie.
Present.
There you are.
And just a note, very quickly, Mr. Stevie is gonna have to leave at 8:30 a.m. today.
Actually, Maria, I can stay on the call. I'm just gonna have to drop off video. I'll be able to stay on audio for that portion.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great. Mr. Poster.
Good morning. I'm here.
Great, thank you. And on the agenda, we have Gail Hartman, who's being replaced for the morning by Nancy Defoe, DeFeo, whom we know is here. She's going to stay on mute. She's helping the other member of the neighborhood. So we have quorum. Thank you.
Great, thanks a lot. Item number 2 is the review and approval of the previous meeting minutes from December. Actually, you want us to approve the November 18th meeting minutes? So we should do that. Is there a motion to approve the 11/18/2022 LAR and meeting minutes?
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
I'll make that motion.
These are the meeting minutes from December 16. I've pulled up the legal action report from December, which was what you're approving. This is misleading because it looks like an agenda, but
It changed before my eyes. We want to approve what's on the screen, which is December 16th meeting minutes.
Correct.
And if you scroll up to the top, yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Motion to approve the December minutes.
All right.
I'll make that motion to approve the December action report minutes.
Thank you, Chris. There's a motion to approve it. Is there a second?
I wasn't present, so I'm not going to be voting on this, but I can second it if that is possible with me not voting.
I think that's possible.
And Mr. Chair, members of the DRB, even if one of you didn't attend the meeting, there's always the ability to go back and look at the recording, look at the LAR, and still vote, just for you to know in the future.
Okay, everyone can vote. December's meeting was a grid meeting, and Rick Gonzalez was our design professional that was on our board with us. Okay, it's been seconded. I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving those minutes that you see on the screen, say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, and the meeting minutes are approved. Item number 3, call to the audience. This is where we check in. Is there anyone on the call who is an audience member, meaning that they're not a staff member, they're not on the DRB board, and they're not part of a case number or an applicant? Any audience members want to say hello and make a comment?
Yes, this is my name's Gabriel. I'm a planner at PDSD. Just observing on this.
Thanks, Gabriel. Anybody else in the call to audience? If not, we will move on to item 4, which is our case number SD-1222-00009, Zimams 2731 East Broadway Boulevard. I'll first ask for a staff overview, and then we shall have the applicant make the request or make their presentation.
Excellent. Yes, I'll give an overview. This proposal is to remodel Z-Mom's restaurant at 2731 East Broadway Boulevard, and we'll be also redeveloping the adjacent properties to the west for expansion of the restaurant and for a coffee shop. And then both Z-Mom's and the coffee shop will include indoor and outdoor seating. The applicant is requesting to use the Sunshine Mile District tool as the redevelopment. The agenda includes a lot of notes about what the applicant is proposing to do, but I am going to assume that much of this is covered in the presentation. If not, we can revisit the detailed application here. We also have joining us Corky Poster, the design professional who reviewed the project on February 16th and has recommended approval. His detailed notes are available on the DRB website for review, and we can refer to that. We also have a note here that the project was reviewed by the Plans Review Subcommittee, who also recommended approval. And so unless there are any questions, I will pass it over to the applicant to give the presentation. If you'd like me to continue to share my screen, I can. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to you, Leo.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may, Leo, I'm sorry, just for a moment.
No, that's okay.
Mr. Chair, members of the DRB, as you can see in the agenda, there's the items the applicant will be asking for to change from the usual UDC requirements through the SMD, which includes the reduction of parking spaces and landscape and screening, setbacks, but also the collection of garbage. And at the time the agenda was drafted, we had not heard yet from environmental services. We have now. And the only comments they had is for the applicant to make some revisions to the site plan in terms of maneuverability, just a small change, and to provide details on the screening for the trash enclosure, and also to do some revisions to the agreement with the property between the Siemens, the cafe, and the parking lot next door. So that's all they had. So they overall support this project once the applicant makes those changes on their plans. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, I received that email from Nick yesterday, Maria. And so I addressed him initially, but I'll get back to him. Let's see. And I'm looking for my screen share. I'm a Zoom guy. So the teams is I'm looking for it. Open share tray. There we go. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Thanks very much. This is going to be it's in a PDF format. And so I'll be scrolling through the project. I invited to be along with this. I invited the Gabamarian family and Faven and I believe Cindy is on audio as far as being able to be here. I felt that the process has moved ahead far enough that having other team members, that would be with Greg Carlson Engineering and Eric over with Landscape Architecture. We're in our third round of comments and response and revisions. So I'm pretty well aware and I feel like I can answer specific questions on the development plan. What I wanted to do was to begin with just a basic overview and just an agenda for what I'm going to be going through, and I'll get to that right now. So what I'm going to be presenting this morning is an abridged version of what I turned in. I believe Maria has seen it. I'm not sure of other staff. Corky did review it with during his professional design consulting. So I tried to we had 122 pages, so I tried to pare that down to something that was more reasonable in presenting. Those portions are available, but this is what I'm going to run through this morning. I'm going to start just with an aerial photograph, basic location of the project, just as a reference point for everybody who maybe has not seen the layout of the project so far. I'm going to do photos of the existing buildings, of the surrounding area, which I presented to Jody and her committee to look at and review. A description of the ZMOM's development scope. I'm going to also share the concept site plan that was presented to the neighborhood association. This is an early on concept plan that reflects a lot of what's there, but we've made subtle changes through the review process. We'll be looking at phasing because the project is phased. Right now, we're just dealing with the first phase of the project. I have some concept renderings, which actually I think really is real critical to understanding how the new project's going to fit into the Sunshine Mile corridor and with the streetscapes, and wanted to be able to provide that as something for you all to see. I have the ZMOM's development plans, the last iteration of them. They have all the changes that we've done. Again, we can go through those, but they have been submitted and reviewed by the department. So those are the civil engineering and landscape architecture plan sheets. I also included just some material and detail and color samples that were submitted, just as a reference point for any questions, but that's about it. And then I did include the letter that was presented by the design professional, Debbie Corky, and just that will be there only, again, for reference in the project. This is the site. This was from the most current aerial photograph that was available online. You can see that this was during the construction of Broadway, and thankfully it's been is well developed past this point, being in use, and everything has really come together quite a bit. But what you can see are the intersecting at the base of the drawing is Broadway Boulevard. The main street running north and south is Treat Avenue, which has been designated as a bike boulevard, and that has been a great enhancement. Is really something that has come together as the project has been worked on over the last year. The addresses are labeled here for the project, and I've outlined the specific, the two specific development plans that we've been working with in concert to get approved. The DP 220181 is the project we're reviewing today, and the three properties on there are 2731, which is the existing Z-Mom's property, 2725, which will become Z-Mom's Lounge, and you'll see in the design we've linked these two properties together, and then 2719 will be an independent property that will be developed separately as a tenant improvement. And then 2711 is where Rio Nuevo we've gone through with them, and they just got approval and permitting to begin that project. They're in a sort of a 2-week holding pattern right now, and so that's going on, and that was DP 22-0182. So that's the background of where we're at, and it has been a lot of balls to be juggling and balancing and keeping in the air during this whole process. So we're well along beyond where this photograph represents. So the existing buildings on the property these are excuse my scrolling if I zoom back and forth a little bit, but this is the existing restaurant. It is now it's been and Faven could even talk to this if we need to, but the restaurant's been closed down for over a year, waiting for the improvements and the going through the review process. But these are the three elevations of the property as they are or were a little bit ago when I took the photos. This is one outbuilding in the back that is also being incorporated into design as a covered outdoor eating space. This is 2725, which is next door, formerly an insurance company, and this again gives the three elevations of the project of the building. This is another outbuilding that will be coming down in the back, and we're just waiting for approval on that with the development plan. The third property it will be the tenant improvement property. This has been a number of businesses over the year, and what the plan is in this initial phase is you can see on the back portion of the property there are some unpermitted additions that will be coming off of that, and pretty much just cleaning that up and getting it ready for a new tenant. And the Gebamarians have a couple of possible clients lined up for that. The adjacent properties is interesting in that and this I pulled together again for the historic review. This is the overlay map of what the development zone would be for it as far as a historic review. But you can see in green here these are the 27, 31, 25, and 19 properties here. This larger property here at 2711 is the property where the parking lot's going to go, and you can just see by the remaining the dark places are the contributing properties, and the rest are non-contributing. This is the building on the 2711 property. Adjacent to that is Rocco's Pizza, which is a contributing property. I'm just going to move for a few properties to the east, or to the west, I'm sorry. An office building there, I'm probably guessing built in the 80s, 90s. And then this is a contributing property that is just adjacent to it. It's a retail building. I think there are plans for the renovation of that. To the east of the property are two residential properties that now have businesses in them. They have a residential scale and really sort of match up with what we're doing over at Z-Moms in the lounge and over at 2719 in the same scale and the same spirit there. Across the street, Freddy's Steak Burgers, which I've not eaten at yet. I don't know, but that is one of the development properties that just went in, and adjacent to that is another contemporary office building that, again, I think was built in the 90s or 2000s, and so that's sort of a contextual background on where the building is. We went through, and this is the development plan project scope, and again, I've already discussed a little bit about what we're looking at being able to do, but you know, essentially the project amounts to 2731 being Z-Mom's restaurant. That's been an expansion with improvements to the kitchen. We have a plan. We're in our third round and final round of review on the building permit. This is the number on that. And that has actually been approved for 2731. We're just waiting on the approval for the development plan on that. We have the two properties, 2725 and 29 and 19, that are going to be developed as I had described before. 2725 is what's going to be linked to the restaurant. Will be, you know, they'll be really supporting each other in a lot of ways. The restaurant will prepare food, and we have a connection that you can see in the plan of that will connect the two, so that it will be run as separate businesses, but their functioning will really be tied together significantly. And then again, the third parcel, which I described, was where the parking lot was going to be, is 2711. The first phase is going to be I had described before, is that we're going to improve the kitchen and seating and expand the seating into the building and then out onto the patio. 2725 will serve as a international sports venue bar, you know, with various sports, and that will also have inside dining and patio dining. And then 2719, we've designated it now as a coffee shop. I think that's who they're talking to about getting in there. One of the things that was projected is that would be a more of a daytime use to sort of balance out the demands on parking and just site use, so that it would you know, enhance the full use of the property all day long. So that would be more of an early morning use into the evening and then shut down, and then the restaurant and the bar would be more of they'd be a daytime, but also a later nighttime use. Rio Nuevo is a partner in all of this, and it really has made it all very possible in the full development of the property. They are independently developing the parking lot, and there's a lease agreement. I think Maria mentioned that as one of the requirements. We have all that documented, it's all laid out, and it's just a matter of sharing that information. But Rio Nuevo in this first phase will be developing the parking lot. At the back portion of the 27, 25, and 19, we're creating a new entryway off of the parking lot into the site. This will be able to provide easier and more direct access to the back of the properties, into the new patio areas, outdoor eating patio areas. It will that same corridor that we're creating there, and I'll show you on the site plan, will be later developed in the second phase as a venue for a food court. And again, I'll show you that in the plan. The other portion that's happening is all the properties that are on Broadway, directly on Broadway, will be developed with the plan is having them developed with a new landscape and hardscape and creating a new a streetscape, and we're using all the Sunshine Mile development standards in order to be able to pull that off. And I think we've done we've been pretty successful with that. The remodeling is we're sort of holding that out for the 27-19 is going to be held out separately. Like I said before, all these properties are have been developed just in conjunction with each other, and I'll show you on the site plan what we've come together, but it's very complete, and I feel like we did a good job with that. The second phase of the project will be to expand the one of the great concepts that the Grammarians came up with, which was creating an international food court. This we'll take that walkway that we've created for access to the buildings that will be used in the first phase. That will be used as seating and also accessed for the idea is to have 4 covered outdoor food stalls that will have all the facilities they'll need for holding and preparing and refrigerating food, but is simply a vendor for getting the food to the people. The other part of it is that we're going to do a commissary kitchen that can be shared by all of the participants in the food court, that will provide refrigeration, sanitary, food preparation areas, refrigeration, dishwashing, and really it will meet all the health department standards for that. Along with that is the restrooms that will be provided. So this will really be a fully contained, self-supporting element with it, and it really would be the 4th element within the development plan that will be able to have it. And then along with that, we'll have storage and utility areas that will be used with the plan. So that will be the second phase, and it's gonna be we'll see. Everybody's very anxious about just getting the existing restaurants and the expansion done. So that's going to be something that we'll revisit later. Okay, let me get this a little bit. This is the site plan. This was a document that was presented to the neighborhood association and has been also in our communications with the staff of sort of what we're looking at. Again, in the brown, you'll see that is the first phase of the development. In the purple is the second phase, which I just described, with the food court, the commissary kitchen, and then an additional service area that could be incorporated with the Z-Moms. And the third I held out as just a separate entity, and that is the tenant improvement, which is in the green, which is in this area. This is a larger scale of it. And you can see the restaurant expansion. The existing restaurant sits basically at the base of the building, and then we're expanding into the what used to be an apartment, and that's going to increase the dining. This is the kitchen and service area. Excuse me. And this is the breezeway I referred to that's going to link back into a service area, into the lounge, and then that will open up. And this is the opened up floor plan that will have these little these are corner televisions. So this will be all seating with a bar here. And then we provided access out into the patio areas. In both buildings, there weren't, even Z-Moms before didn't have any outdoor dining. So this will be an expansion into that outdoor dining area. And then also for the bar, this will be an outdoor patio dining drinking area down here. Both of the patio areas were intentionally located closer to the street, away from the neighborhood, Sam Hughes neighborhood to the north. And as well here, this has a wide, you'll see in the renderings and in the photographs, this is an open, open patio towards Broadway that will be visible from Broadway. And again, we sort of wanted to push the outdoor dining areas out to the outside to really sort of keep the sound and all the impact of the outdoor dining away, as far away from the residential areas as possible. In the first phase of what we're doing, also in part of the mitigation that we have, is all along this is a utility easement that runs along the properties, and this will have an 8-foot high masonry wall that will be fully grouted as for sound and light mitigation. So that's all in the plot in the project. And then you can see, and it's not in this drawing, it's in the previous drawing. There's the parking lot with trash collection, and in this you can see that this would be the drop-off area, and this is the court that we're creating that will give access into the buildings, and then later will be directly linked to the food service areas. Bicycle parking is going to be provided along the parking lot, and those are like our last set of comments were specifically about our parking. This is a little bit different than the final solution that we came up with. Just as a visual to kind of simplify everything, this is the concept for the landscaping. This was prepared by ARC, and it represents the canopies and the shading that is being provided on site. I think we were able to, or ARC was able to present a 70% shaded area for the whole site development, and worked very hard in getting the proper shading and landscaping for the parking lot as well. Civil engineering is that they came in and were able to really do a lot of on-site water retention, and I think it's just going to be really a great environment for people to come and visit. The front patios are going to be part of the plan. Those are really just for gathering and for street entry into the properties. The number 6 here represents the eating patios. Again, the food court and commissary kitchen in the front. These are properties that are located to the north, and those are the residential properties. And then you can just see the outline. It comes out more in the other site plans, but this is the easement that we have with the mitigating sound and light wall here to prevent the transmission of sound to the north. These are the elevations that were presented. I have another set that are more fully developed, but this is what was presented to the neighborhood for their review. And this was a very early concept of the idea of what we were going to try and create at the back of the property with the food stalls, the commissary kitchen, and then we're looking at an adjustable shade structure to enhance even the trees that have been incorporated in the design for providing shade. So that I wanted just to share what we'd shown to the neighborhood association. And I can go over this. It is available otherwise, but we had a very positive presentation to the neighborhood. The Givemarians introduced themselves, went through their family history and their history with Sam Hughes and the properties there, and that was really important. I'm a Sam Hughes, longtime Sam Hughes resident, and patron of the restaurant. So this was a great opportunity for me to be there. And I think that, you know, our investment in the neighborhood, it was something that I think was a real strength in our team, and having, you know, people who cared about the neighborhood, lived in the neighborhood, and being part of the development team. And I think that was really important. Again, this will just go through what we presented to them. And it's I don't know how much detail I'll go into it, but it's sort of reiterating what I've already decided or explained to you all. We had the design team has really been Rio Nuevo with Fletcher and Edmund, and they've been great throughout the process and helping us with in communicating and with just moral and financial support. We're working with TCM Construction that's with Dan Taylor, and Dan's again a longtime Tucson resident and great patron of the restaurant, and again that was important for that. That connection to be part of the whole spirit of the development and what we wanted to create. Greg Carlson Engineering did all the civil, and Greg's been around forever. And then Eric Ray with Arc Studios, they were a very strong part of the team. We've also worked with Michael Becker with Schwayman Associates, and he's a consulting architect with Schwayman for Rio Nuevo, and Michael's been really important. This just goes back over the same, excuse my scrolling. This is the same phasing that we had discussed in the, you know, that I discussed earlier. And then we did go over the idea of the streetscape and the improvements that we were going to make there. You know, with the fully landscape shading trees, the new patios that were going to be created. One of the two of the buildings that one of the big improvements we've made is for the ADA access, with ramps and changing elevations and everything else. And so that's really worked out well. The buildings themselves are going to stay in the scale and size that they are, and you know, for a number of reasons, and not the least being budget. As far as being able to afford to do all this, we really are leaving everything intact and are just enhancing what is already there. I'll show you this proposed signage that we're talking about, and then there is the parking and garbage collection, which has been a real benefit. And I think what we presented to the neighborhood was that this parking lot that Rio Nuevo has generously been able to develop is really making the impact on the neighborhood, in my opinion, you know, relatively minimal, in that the parking is being pulled off, the parking access is being pulled off onto Broadway, so that takes it out of the neighborhood. And then just the restaurants and everything along the Broadway corridor for years has really been dependent on people parking on the street to access the businesses. And so I think the parking lot was crucial and really was the genesis for the ability to be able to to really pull this off and creating it. So what we've been able to do is that we've been able to you know, get that parking and providing almost I have the parking plan mitigation also as part of this, but we were able to get nearly 30 spaces in that parking lot, including ADA accessible parking spaces and bicycle and alternative transportation, being bikes and scooters, and we have space for all of that. So I think that once the site is fully developed with the 4 venues that we've described, the parking is going to go a long way to be able to take care of that. We did get questions, and most of the questions that we got from the neighborhood really looked at, that access issue and the parking issue and how that was going to impact it. We went through that in detail and it described again what I just told you, which is that we pulled the parking out of the neighborhood and gave clear access in and out of the parking lot on Broadway, which will greatly cut down on any kind of cross traffic going through the neighborhood. The other issues that came up was the sound and light and, time of operation questions that came up. The hours of operation, I'd have that worked out. I think I described it earlier. We tried to get the parking or the seating for the outdoor patios more towards Treat and Broadway to pull that away from that. Just again, noise and light and cars coming in and out will all be mitigated by the location where we put them, along with the sound and light wall that we put in there. Question came up about liquor licenses, and that was really handled well. Faven is handling, I think for the family is handling that, and I believe that's moving forward. If there's any specific questions to that. And I think that, well, I'm aware of, and Faven I'm sure is aware of now, that there's a whole other layer of impact to the neighborhood and mitigation that goes through the liquor license process. So it's another opportunity to fine tune what the impact is going to be on the neighborhood. There are going to be periodic outdoor events, and those are all going to be handled by the owner in trying to let neighbors know about that, and then mitigating the sound that's generated, as well as sort of containing the hours of the events and how when those are going to happen. But I think during the discussion it was brought up, but we were able to, and the family was able to really address that specifically about opening up and having a good communication with the neighbors, letting them know when that's all going to happen. Another question that came up was about the duration of the construction. I confirmed this with Dan Taylor yesterday, and really for the site and the buildings, we're looking at 6 to 8 months, and for the duration of the construction. So that's I think Dan's sort of holding to that, and it's just a matter of when the everything is approved, and I think we're really close to that being able to be there. Just so it doesn't drag on for a lot longer, but this is what I prepared. Initially, we thought we were going to have to go through an IPP as part of pulling this together, but it turns out that the overlay really does handle that portion of it. But I did address all within the format of an application for an IPP. I did go through, sort of describing what, the different, and we have it on the development plans as far as calculations of the parking spaces required by standard parking the Sunshine Mile overlay required spaces with the credits that we get given for bicycles and location near mass transit, which is again a great location we have that on Broadway. And again, we got through and we were able to get those 30 spaces. I think we've narrowed that a little bit only because of clearance issues that came up during the parking review. So I think we're closer to 28 spaces, but still well above the 19 spaces that we were able to calculate with the Sunshine Mile overlay. We do have a access and agreement between ZMOMS and Rio Nuevo to be able to use the parking lot and to use, we have easement for the use of the trash collection and screened recycling and trash bin that's going to be on the property. Yeah, we were again, I think in the mitigation for this parking, we discussed the same things as far as trying to keep the parking off of Treat Avenue as much as possible, and then encouraging with signage and just our new entryway and everything else, being able to really have people utilize the parking on access over on Broadway and using the parking lot to access the buildings and being able to do that. So these are the streetscape renderings that we developed, and I'll show you those. The top one is simply a front elevation on Broadway looking north and looking at the ZMOMS here on the right hand side. This will be the lounge, the future coffee shop, and then you can see the parking lot here. The car represents where Treat Avenue is. The canopies for the trees are relatively accurate. We really sort of tried to tone it down a little bit so you could actually see the buildings in the rendering. The lower rendering here on the bottom is a view from the corner, looking across the street, so you can see Treat Avenue coming in here, and then even the buildings and existing. Here's Rocco's Pizza there, but you can see here that the landscaping and the shade canopies that have been created. These small patio walls will create the small entry patios off of the street. And really provided a second access and egress and access that we had to get for both buildings in order to meet code. And so I think this is a great shot that represents what you'll see as you're going down Broadway. The first this is a view from the Treat side looking in. This is the garage building that I showed photographs of. This is an existing wall that will be painted. These are steel gates that are in, and then you can see the front patio area as it goes out towards Broadway to the south. And then these gates here represent the access that will be maintained for this easement that runs between the properties. Everything north of here is the residential area, so you can get sort of a scale of how things are separated from the Sam Hughes neighborhood to the new development. This is the view from the west in the parking lot, and you can see here, this is the 2719 building, the brick building that will be left brick and restored. This is an existing adobe wall that earlier we didn't know if it was salvageable, but we are going to save it. And then this is a new fencing that we're going to need to put up. All of this needs to be contained in order to meet liquor service requirements as far as a controlled access to it. This wall represents the screen wall here that we're putting in, but this will get you an idea of what we're looking at from the south, or from the west, I'm sorry. These are the more developed elevations beyond what we did and presented to the neighborhood association with walls and fences called out. It really gives you sort of a more of a graphic scale. We've scaled off the existing heights of buildings, and this and something that we couldn't do in the rendering. So we wanted to present this as, you know, to sort of address those specific issues. The sign, this is the enlargement of the sign that will be placed in the parking lot. I think you can see it on this front elevation right here. So it will be in the parking lot, and you can see it. We have another perspective of it, but that kind of going with the same, you know, stucco finish with the graphics directly on the stucco that we're going to have on the signage for the two buildings up in front, for what will be the lounge, and for Z-Mom's already has the sign on it, and so we're keeping in that spirit. This is just sort of an aerial perspective to give sort of, again, sort of the layout. It really sort of it's nice in that it really sort of gives you an idea of just the whole compound that's going to be created, the parking lot, and the new access drop-off area that we're going to have. This again will be the sign to you know, more identify that this is the new entry, or, you know, sort of the desire to have the new walkway be the primary access to the property, which will feed into the new outdoor patios. And then this is a view from the southeast that gives you sort of the reverse, so you really can get an idea of everything else. This area in between the two buildings is really turned into much more of a utility space. We had to, because of the age of the buildings, we had to pull a lot of the equipment that had previously been on, and the new equipment we needed to put inside there. That will have a 6-foot wall, masonry wall with a gate on it, so that will all be screened and contained from view, you know, from the streetscape, and really from all the clients and customers, because you can see that there's the patio space along this side, as well as patio space that's created here. There, like I had mentioned before, this will be a fence that, you know, really you'll be able to visibly see the you know, the patrons that are going to be in this patio. So I think it's one of the enhancements that, you know, really it's far enough away from the road where people will enjoy themselves, but it also will, you know, show some human activity that's there that's been long missing. So I can go into this, and maybe Maria can speak to it as far as it, but what I did is I have an outline of the criteria that we had used in the development plan. This speaks more to the work that Greg and Eric did in the civil and the landscape, and being able to do it. But we did, you know, address, you know, setbacks, you know, parking issues, all of the guidelines that, you know, pertain to the landscaping, open space, signage, you know, all of these areas that we used, and again consulted in achieving the final development plan. This also is what we've been talking about: the landscape buffers, shade, streetscape design, and then we have gone through the historic review, which was part of what we needed to do. These are the development plans, and they've been, like I said, we've gone through, we're now on our 3rd round, and it sounds like we'll have an additional round of addressing the the trash collection and agreement conditions there, but I think it's really minimal. This has gone through review, is available for review. I think that probably the best document that illustrates what's going on, just to look at what the final plan has, is the overall plan here that we have, which again is defining landscape areas, hardscape areas, fencing, access for both the properties. There's a whole drainage report that was part of what Greg prepared, as far as on-site containment of any water generated from buildings and in the site itself. This is the refined parking area over on the side that we went through. We have some, they wanted an addition of some long-term parking, so we're actually going to have parking cabinets as well as parking here. And then this is the breezeway that was part of the discussion. The Treat Avenue is another great asset, as I described before, is that this is and I think that people are really starting to use it because there's a controlled crossing at Treat and Broadway. So the idea that people can get to the site through the boulevard with using their bikes is only enhanced through that development. So that's really great. Again, here's a better block out of what the residential units are in back of us, and then again the mitigating wall that's 15 feet off of their property line, and their patio walls is going to be the wall that's going to be built in order to contain all the impact of the new development. Let's see what else I have. And again, we could just use this as reference. This was what I put together for the historic review, and we talked about the different elements of the building: the stucco, the steel gates, steel fencing, existing and new, what we're going to match, the adobe wall that's preserved, what from an economic standpoint and for a water containment as well. We're going to use compacted decomposed granite as the surfaces for the new patios. These are gates that were installed during it, and we'll sort of keep with the same spirit, but kind of just looking at it. And this is the idea of the building, the window and the stucco and what we're doing. We did come up with a new color scheme for the buildings, and that we incorporated that into the rendering. So what you'll see in a color scheme will actually be what we'll have on the building. So these are what buildings were designated with what colors. And the last thing I included, just for a reference point, would be the letter that Corky prepared in the review of the project. So that is it, I believe. So let me just reduce this, see if I can get it down.
Thank you. Before we transition, I'm hearing an echo. Leo, would you mind muting yourself for just a moment?
Muting myself?
Yes, just for a moment. We're going to transfer over to Corky Poster to give a review of his design professional review, and then we'll open it up to the DRB members and the members from the Sam Hughes neighborhood to ask any questions and share their thoughts, at which point I'll mute myself and the echoing will no longer be a problem. So Corky, would you like me to share your notes?
No, I think I think the committee has a hard copy of that, so I don't think that's necessary. I was just gonna briefly kind of look at my comments from two different perspectives. First is that I was able to be on the design team for the Sunshine Mile Overlay District, so I know the details of it well. I've also had the opportunity, this would be the 5th project that I've been working on in one capacity or another along the Sunshine Mile. I worked with Nate actually at Capcom on the moving of those bungalows further west on Broadway, but also have been on the review team for the selection of the developer for the Solot block, the Friedman block, and more recently the Country Home, which is over by Inglis Flores. So I'm really pleased to see all of the development. When I say that I'm looking at it from 2 perspectives, one is kind of the larger view. And in my letter, I included the goals of the Sunshine Mile District and want to just go over those quickly to remind everyone why we're here and what we're doing. The goals were to encourage sustainable, environmentally conscious infill development, to support a diverse mix of uses, enhance the sense of place, recognizing the different characters of the sub-district, protect historic architectural styles, encouraging development, compatible with the neighborhood, encouraging creative infill development, promoting compatibility with existing properties, offering development incentives, promoting infill development that builds on existing and future transportation modes, and creates a streamlined development review that encourages neighborhood participation. So we're operating here in a larger context, and I gushed a little bit at the end of my letter after going through the details of the proposal and how they correspond to the details of the Sunshine Mile Overlay District. Each one of those was exactly on target with the requirements of the district. And then finally, I was really gratified to see this development itself. I was particularly gratified to see the partnership with Rio Nuevo and how all that is working to be able to enhance all of the goals that I went through before. And I just want to congratulate Leo and the whole Zebrmariam family for putting together a excellent 122-page document that I got to read every page of, and just strongly recommend approval as submitted. And I'm happy to answer any questions about my review.
Thank you, Corky, and thank you, Leo, for the presentation, information, and letting us take a look at your project as the design review board. I think what I'd like to do is see if any board members have specific questions. I see, Susanna, your hand is up. Why don't you kick us off with a question or two?
Hi, everyone. Yes, thank you for your presentation, both of you. It seems like a very sensitive response. I guess I've just got a couple of minor comments / questions, which, excuse me if were gone over. It was a pretty long presentation, and obviously I've looked at the PDF, but I guess it's nothing to do with you guys, but I guess we're going to be this is more to Maria, that we'll be looking at that parking lot later as a separate proposal, because I guess, I mean, I understand I'm from a more walkable background, and but I do drive and park on Broadway, so understand the need for all those cars on the one sense, but I just get concerned about the material on the groundscape of parking lots. It seems like you guys have been very sensitive at looking at the sustainability of your development on those materials, and I just hope that that we don't just have a typical tarmacked parking lot, ideally. But I guess the other questions were from the east. Is there going to be a lot of bike racks? And the gate seems it seems like that you're not really promoting that access from Treat Avenue. Is that correct? I mean, I see there's a little gate, but there's no signage. It's pretty solid. So I just wondered if you could talk a little bit more about that, because hopefully there will be a lot of people, pedestrians and people on bikes from that east side, right? Whereas primarily it looks like the main entrance is from the parking. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that I appreciate the question. In fact, I think that the evolution of Treat during the whole construction, you could see from what we started with was, it was down to dirt. So now you do have the bikeway has been completed. I also agree that additional bike parking specifically at that corner, there's open space, and I think that we could incorporate that into it. In response to the gates, the Gebamarians have been plagued with break-ins and destruction and looting of their buildings for 2 years now. So I think the gates were more of a response to, we're tired of people kicking down the gate and going in and ravaging our property, versus the openness that I think hopefully we'll have, and I know we'll have afterwards. So I think both of those comments are very very important. I think with the scale of the buildings, that where you stand and where you are in that corner at Treat and Broadway, the patio wall at that point is 4 feet tall, so you really see over the top of it. I'm imagining, tables and people and umbrellas and shade and everything else, and so I think that there will be we would still have the existing only access that's going to be off of that little courtyard patio that's going to be created in the front. That will obviously be, if you're on foot, because my son lives over on Forges and 6th, and they walk to Zimom's all the time. So there's foot traffic. There's going to be the bicycle traffic that's going to be there. I agree that I think a great location, and it's sort of an afterthought after how well the pathway has been constructed and is being used. I think that's a really valid and good input on additional, maybe a couple of bike parking spaces there. I don't know if that needs to formally go through the review, or if the property owners have the ability to put those on separately on their own. So maybe that's something that Maria would address. And then to your comment about the parking lot, in my discussions with Eric and the sort of what they went through in the review process and meeting the requirements as far as shading and water containment, drainage, I think it's going to be really, as far as a parking lot, I think it's going to be much different than the Elcon, wasted desert of thousands of parking spaces. All the parking drains into that center portion where the trees were lined. So that's what they used for their water containment and capturing, which is going to enhance the growth of the trees and actually provide true canopies for people to park under. It's bordered by landscaping, and I think it with any of these things, I agree on a lot of points as far as creating another parking lot, but again, I think it is a real answer to the neighborhood concerns about about parking on the street and how much that goes on. So I think it's it's a true balance point between, you know, providing parking and trying not to do it. So those are, I hope that answers your questions or addresses your questions.
And
Yes.
Ms. Dickinson, Mr. Chair, members of the DRB, remember the parking lot is not part of this Sunshine Mile District application. That's
Right.
being developed separately under the underlying zoning. So they just basically need to meet whatever the underlying zoning requires. However, you know, Leo here has been, you know, working on making sure that parking lot, you know, also is integrated in its design with the Zemans and future coffee shop site. So yeah, that's being reviewed separately. However, you know, for context, you know, it's being presented here. And in terms of that entryway from Treat, it's up to the DRB, I'm sorry, the SMD DRB to, you know, request, recommend any potential changes, including the biking, the bike parking spaces, you know, and then the PDSD director will consider that in his decision. And if that's gonna be the case, and you know, we work with the applicant to revise the design package, we work with the design professional to address any issues raised by the SMD DRB, even before going to the PDSD director. So I hope that clears some of the question.
Thank you, Maria. I do want to quickly disclose that my construction firm Capcom has the general contract for that parking lot at 2711. I don't feel it's a conflict of interest. You might think I have a lot of insider information, but I can assure you I don't have any. This was very educational and informative to me. So I'm still going to hang on to my vote. So I don't feel like I have a conflict of interest there, but I wanted to disclose that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, there shouldn't be any conflict of interest since that parking lot is not part of this SMD
Okay.
application.
Okay, other comments from the SMD DRB?
Mr. Chair,
And just as a
Nancy has a
reminder,
question in the chat.
okay, great, thank you.
Oh, there's some in the chat. Let me click on that. Let's see. There's a question. Are there going to be EV parking spaces? That seems like a parking lot question, which is not part of this project.
Yeah, there were, I don't believe anything was, I don't believe any of the parking spaces were EV designated. I didn't know if that wasn't a requirement of that, but like Maria said, that's a separate issue with a different development plan. But I, you know, personally think it's probably a good idea since we're all switching over to it. So that maybe, I don't know if that can be addressed specifically by us, or if the, you know, the developer would provide those outside of the, you know, outside of the parking lot, because we're abutted right up against each other, the two developments. So I don't know how to address that specifically.
I think that just might be a comment that needs to feed back to Rio Nuevo.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm sure within the minutes that will be recorded, and then maybe Michael Becker can look at that specifically within the design. I know there's power that is available for, we went in and did all the lighting. I sort of managed the submittal and approval process for Swaim and Rio Nuevo just because everything else was in concert. So I know there's available power for an alternative, for EV charging, if that is going to be part of this.
What else? What other questions do we have? Or do we need, would the SMD DRB like to see the criteria that we're evaluating? Unlike other strictly DRB cases, we have the benefit of the design professional has done, basically all our homework and has written a nice report, and he is recommending approval. Are there any questions on his recommendations that other members might have that we could ask him? Chris, are you still with us? I knew it. I knew it, Chris. Come on.
No, I'm just not on video. I have one question that really isn't a comment, and Porky and Leo might be able to answer this. It does go back to the parking. I know there's an agreement between those parking. What happens when Rio Nuevo decides to develop that lot into an alternate use, i.e. another building?
Mr. Stevie, Mr. Chair, members of the DRB, of the SMD DRB, let me answer that. There's going to be an agreement between, Rio Nuevo with their parking lot and this project. It needs to be reviewed and approved through the development package process. If in the future that lot is to be redeveloped with something else, the Zimam's coffee shop project will need to come back with a revised design package. And at that point, the design professional may decide it's a major review, and a revised design package will need to be prepared and go through the process that they're just going through right now. Also, staff will determine if an individual parking plan may be needed, or if there's any other tools available through the SMD document that the applicant could make use of for the revised design package. So that's something that we would need to be reviewing.
I don't think I fully understood that. So what you're saying is, if for some reason that dedicated parking lot goes away, this particular project, Z-Moms would have to redevelop their lot?
They will need to prepare a new design package,
Well, I can tell you that I didn't see room for, I didn't see room for 30 spots, no matter how much you rearrange things. So that doesn't seem like a very practical recourse. I think I can see a different scenario though, where Z-Moms would just have to buy that parking lot someday.
Yeah, and again, they would be tied with that agreement, not only for the parking, but also for refuse collection. So if they want to break that agreement, it has to go through the review and approval process.
Okay. We have to review it independently of the parking lot. But it actually is sort of germane, because we're asked to say no parking for this project, and that's okay because they have attached parking. But Chris's point is, if that attached parking goes away, then we're approving no parking. I'm not necessarily concerned about it myself, but that is an interesting point, Chris.
This is Corky. If I can intervene, all over the city, we have commercial uses that are meeting their parking requirement by a lease agreement with an adjacent parcel. And the city's position on all of those is, if that lease agreement goes away, then that parcel would need to propose another way of meeting their parking requirement or get a waiver of that parking requirement. But in the 122-page development package that that Leo presented was also the lease agreement between that parcel and the parking lot. So this is not a uncommon issue, and parking requirements all over the city are met in this manner, with the follow-on problem of what happens if that goes away. So this is not a unique circumstance.
Thanks for that context.
Yeah,
Chris?
thanks, guys. That was more of an education question from my end, of not really remembering how that process worked or what the safeguard was for that. So it really wasn't a comment about this specific project.
And just to clarify, Mr. Chair, members of the SMD DRB, the project is proposing, that off-site parking, right? And that's how the SMD DRB is reviewing it. So yeah, it is a valid point, Chris, but that's what we have in front of us, and we can work things out in the future and with any other future scenarios.
Could I have Amanda or Maria put the agenda back on the screen with the language of the motion? We can look at that. Thank you. More questions from the SMD DRB. Any further discussion that we want to have?
I guess
I just have another a benign comment. I used to work in the building that's going to be potentially the coffee shop, and was involved in the design and installation of that kind of cool gate and paving in the front. So I was happy to see that stuff being maintained, because I spent many an hour drawing detail after detail to get that thing in. So thank you.
Well, they're going to take it out now, Chris.
No. The rebar fence, the heavy duty rebar fence, is one of my favorite parts of that. So I like it.
Good.
I guess, Maria, I just wanted to say, if we mention that we suggest more bike parking, will this slow it down, the process, or can we just approve with saying that as a suggestion?
Ms. Dickinson, members of the SMD DRB, it shouldn't. It depends on the applicant. I would be asking him to revise the design package. If they feel that's something they can accommodate, then staff and the PDSD director thinks that's a reasonable request. We will be asking Leo here to revise the design package, and then, we can finalize the decision notice and stamp plans.
This is Cindy from the Moms, Cindy Geber-Merriam. If I could just interject in the interest of not slowing things down, I don't see any problem with us as the owners installing bike racks there. I think our customers like that. Once we get things going and opening, we can probably put a few bike racks in there, and I don't think that would be an issue for us. I'm not trying to minimize your concern or anything, but I do think we're in sync with that philosophy, and we like that idea. So the exact location of them, I think we have to see how things go, but that would be my comment about that. I would hope that this wouldn't slow it down. That's all.
Let's see. Grace, are you with us?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have any questions. I guess on the comment side, yeah, I'm just excited to see more development in this vein with the overlay, and I think it's going to be great.
Good. And I apologize. I need to check in with the neighborhood representative on our board. Is that, who's that? I'm looking through the attendance list here.
It's Miss Nancy DeFeo.
Nancy. Nancy, are you with us? And
Yes,
would you like to make a comment at all?
I think in general, the feeling on behalf of our neighborhood, and I'm representing Gail Hartman here, who was on the committee, that this is an exciting development and seems to be in line with what our neighborhood was hoping would be done there. It seems that a lot has been mitigated in terms of neighborhood impact, and the scale of the project is within what we were hoping. So for myself, I see nothing, and having chatted with Gail, she felt that when she last saw it, it looked in good order.
Thank you. They're not, all the projects are not like this with so much support and warm and fuzzy appreciation. So let's get on with the motion. Who wants to make a motion?
I'll do it.
Okay,
We make the motion that the Sunshine Mile District Design Review Board has reviewed the applicant's project for compliance with Sunshine Mile District design criteria and recommends to the Planning and Development Services Director approval, finding the project in compliance with the standards and guidelines set forth in SMD sections 3 and 4.
thank you, Susanna. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second the motion. This is Grace.
Thank you, Grace. I will call for a vote. All members of the SMD DRB committee that are in favor, please say aye and or raise your hand. Aye.
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 Okay, I think that's 4 ayes. Any opposed, say nay. I believe the motion has passed. Congratulations to the applicant, and
You.
we're just
Thank you,
about
thank you.
done. Yep, nice presentation for your team. Okay, number 5, staff announcements, informational. What announcements does the staff have for the SMD DRB?
Mr. Chair, members of the DRB, nothing much. We're working with another project along the Sunshine Mile, the Solot Plaza, which is the one on the north side of Broadway. I think it's just east of Tucson Boulevard, where the Tucson Tamale business used to be. So we're working with the applicant right now. They're prepping for putting their plans together. Now it's going to be called Sol, the Sol block. So you may be seeing that in the near future. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I'll just observe that since we're meeting virtually, we're at a disadvantage when a restaurant submits their application to us because we can't taste any of the food. And I really regret not being in person for those type of meetings. That being said, are there any final comments from the board before we adjourn?
This is Leo Katz. I just wanted to say thank you all for the review and the great comments, and look forward to it, and go on over to ZMOMs, and when we get the doors back open, I'm sure there's gonna be much joy and happiness in getting this behind them, and really appreciate all your help, and again, we're really looking forward to getting doors open. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
And just on quickly, I'm sorry, on behalf of our family, I want to also echo the thank you. Tucson is home for us, and we are so incredibly excited to be working on a project of this scope with people we love in a neighborhood that we grew up in. And so we are incredibly appreciative of everything everyone on this call has done to make that happen. And we can't wait to see you when we open. So thank you very, very much for your consideration and your approval.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we are adjourned.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Goodbye.